Hello, hello, hello. Hello. How are you? How is everybody today? Hi, Sada. Hi, friends. Happy Wednesday. I'm not feeling the best, so I'm just gonna offer up what I usually say to you all is to put in emoji form how you are feeling this week. If I were to put in an emoji form, it would be sad face, angry face, and all the things. Hi, Kimberly. Before I get started on this Woke Wednesday, I want to talk about the passing of Midwin Charles, who was one of my friends and colleagues and a regular staple on Woke AF. If you subscribe to my daily podcast, you know that Thursdays, Midwin was a guest on Think Thursday every week, or most weeks that she could join. I met Midwin a couple of years ago, as I meet most fantastic people, which is in the green room or on the set of MSNBC. And, I remember our first meeting, and I think that Joy was hosting someone's show, filling in, and Midwin and I were on set together, and we were like, oh my God, how could we have not met already? We had been following each other on social media, and it was one of those fantastic meetings where you link minds and you're so excited because, there are not a ton of Black, powerful women voices in politics, in law. And so when you get to meet a like-minded person, you link up and you're excited. And so over the years, we would connect in green rooms and exchange phone numbers. And then, during the pandemic, she became one of the most reliable voices on my show that I would look to on a regular basis. And the news of her passing yesterday was shocking, and that's really what I can say. It was shocking. 47 years old and brilliant and beautiful and kind person. So to hear that news, and if folks again have been listening to the show, that that you hadn't heard from her. She hadn't been on the show in about 3 weeks because she had fallen ill, and we were just like, okay, great, see you next week, not thinking that her last time was going to be her last time. So what I offer to all of you as we are in the midst of processing so much death and so much loss over the past year, over this year, is to take time for yourself and to really appreciate and love up on the people that are in your life, that are in your lives, to tell them that you love them, to tell them that you appreciate them, that you give people their roses while they are alive. Because all too often what we are seeing and what the pandemic has brought up for many of us is just how fleeting life is. And, for me, Midwin will be completely and totally missed. I will miss her fire and our regular banter. So appreciate those people that are around you while they are around you. And know that, right? Like, know that we don't have an infinite amount of time. And I think that what has come up for me, in the past 24 hours, as folks are sharing, their memories and their photos. And if you read thegrio.com, you should head over there if you were a fan of Midwin's work and her voice. Jason Johnson did a wonderful obituary for her that is up now. I've tweeted it, so if you follow me on Twitter, I've shared it as well, and it was beautiful, and it's a beautiful tribute to her and to the work that she did. But, again, I will just say to folks, like, life is really fleeting. And we get caught up in our own shit and our own stuff. And that is totally okay. But, it is also really important to have gratitude for the things that are in front of you. Have gratitude for the people that are in front of you. And appreciate them. And even though I don't know, some of you that tune in every week personally, like, I genuinely appreciate that you show up for, to listen to me randomly rant. I appreciate all of the DMs and the messages that you put up on my walls. And that especially that you did yesterday, when I posted about Midwin. So, I just want to say that I have deep gratitude for all of you, for how much you, encourage me, and through, this medium and other mediums encourage each other. And I think that that's really important. Even if you don't know people personally, know that you're affecting somebody's life, right? Like, you have the ability to help somebody have a really good day or a really shitty one. And honestly, the choice is yours. And what I loved about Midwin is that, she was honest. She was a warrior. She was funny as fuck. And shined a light, was a light. Wherever she went. And I think that, that's honestly what we should all strive to be. And, we can't do that every day, because some days fucking suck, like today. Some days suck worse than others. And, some days your light gets a little bit dimmed. But I think it's through community and knowing that people are around you and support you, love and appreciate you, and that you impact their lives. And that matters. And there are days like today where I'm just like, why do we do the work that we do? Why the fuck does it matter? At the end of the day, you could be gone tomorrow, and what will this all have meant? And honestly, I find myself always stuck in that space where people close in age, close in, life, pass away. It's it's an opportunity and a time, I think, to reevaluate, right? Like we've all been doing over the past year, to reevaluate what it is that we are doing with our lives. Are we living on purpose? Are we living our truth? Are we about creating love and light, or are we upholding darkness, right? Those are the questions that I grapple with on a regular basis. It's some of the things that have brought me to, social justice, and the work that I have done is that I believe that, your life should be of impact, right? And I, for the small platform that I have, I try and make my life matter, right? Because I don't know how much time I have. And so if I can offer a voice, if I can offer a place for people to feel like they are in community and being seen, then that is what I do, no matter how big, no matter how small. So with that, I just want to again say that I appreciate all of the kind texts and DMs, and that, I think that you honor people that pass, especially people as brilliant and fiery as Midman, by continuing to double down on the work, double down on the truth, double down on justice, double down on being good, right? And on our voices mattering. Whether that's through your vote, whether that's through your social media platform, but offering that up. So, without further ado, and before I burst into full-on fucking tears, let's start Woke Wednesday with the entire fuckery and hypocrisy of the Republican Party. So, Mitch McConnell, I cannot tell you enough that if I were to run up on that man in real life, if we were to ever cross the street at the same time, if I were to ever be in the same space at the same time, I would honestly be willing to go to jail to punch him in the fucking face. Right? Mitch McConnell has a face, and, sure, I'll give the disclaimer, I don't believe in violence and you shouldn't believe in violence, blah, 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 blah. That man has caused so much devastation, so much disgust, so much disrepair in this country that he deserves to be socked in his fucking mealy mouth face. So Mitch McConnell, like majority of Republicans, believed and sided with the Supreme Court way back in the early aughts when they decided that corporations were in fact people and that they could give unlimited amount of political donations to PACs and be considered people, right? Like that's what Citizens United did back in the early aughts, is that it created a dynamic where corporations were seen as fucking people so they could give an unlimited amount of money. Well, funny enough, here comes Mitch McConnell out of one side of his fucking mouth deciding that corporations should mind their own fucking business and stay out of partisan politics. Funny that you should say that when all CEOs don't act like Mr. Pillow Guy, right? And are sucking on Donald Trump's cock, right? From the Rose Garden. And yes, I said that because I cannot get over the fact that they say some hot shit like CEOs should watch themselves because you're going to play politics with taxes and what? Have some type of retribution against them for what? Speaking out honestly on the fact that all Americans, regardless of race, should be able to fucking vote if they want to. See, my whole thing is that in America, like in other countries, there should be mandatory policies on the books that say when you're 18, it is mandatory for you to vote. But you see, Republicans don't want that in America, and they sure as fuck don't want corporations with their hundreds of billions of dollars to be able to pose any type of sway, right, on the American people. Because here's the thing, money fucking talks, right? And that's why Mitch McConnell is talking out of both sides of his fucking mouth like he does on a regular fucking basis. Which is, on one hand, corporations are people and can give an unlimited amount of donations to his Kentucky PACs for what? I don't fucking know what the fuck Mitch McConnell does except obstruct justice, right? Because when he was in power, you tell me what policies Mitch McConnell and the Republicans offered up over their time of him holding the gavel in the Senate. How has your life been made better? What has he done? What has they offered? They've offered to take away your health care at least over 70 times, right? They put 300 ineffectual, and according to the American Bar Association, some that are not even worthy to be on the federal bench. Why? Because Mitch McConnell knows where the next fights are going to be. These culture wars that Republicans like to be the pushers of, right? They end up in court. I have to understand that we have never received any civil rights through policy alone. We have gotten that by arguing our case in front of federal juries that then go up to the Supreme Court. Well, when you stack the courts and then you have issues that come up like, oh, I don't know, what happened earlier this week in Arkansas. If you guys have been following the news, then you know that Arkansas just voted to pass one of the most egregious, despicable pieces of anti-trans legislation that we have ever seen. And do you know who they've decided to target? This party of family fucking values? Children. That's who Republicans are charging, right? They are trying to attack trans children and telling them that they don't know enough about their bodies. They don't know enough about who they are and how they want to show up in the world. And so they are making it illegal for doctors to provide the necessary hormone blockers to stop puberty from happening, right? So the governor of Arkansas decided that he was going to veto the legislation. And understand, he didn't veto it because he wanted to be on the side of right. He vetoed it knowing that Republicans had enough votes to be able to override his veto. So this is politics as usual, which is Republicans wanting to have their cake and fucking eat it too. Okay? So at the end of the day, what will happen is that the ACLU will decide that they are going to now sue the state of Arkansas for this horrendous piece of anti-trans legislation. But folks, again, we are going up against court systems that have been stacked against our favor. So you tell me how the fuck you think that this is going to work out. And what I continue to say is that what Republicans are leading America towards is a true revolution, not one that happens with voting alone, right? Because there is only so far that the American people are going to continue to be pushed stifled, and oppressed before some real shit begins to pop off. That then they're going to look around and be like, we have no idea where this came from. Keep fucking pushing, right? Keep pushing people to their limit and you see how they're going to clap back. That's what I have to say about Mitch McConnell and the bullshit that he is pulling and the Republicans are pulling. Because here's the thing. His threat to CEOs reveal his truth, which is that as long as you are putting money, right, in our coffers, as long as you are lining our pockets, you can continue to do so. We'll give you the tax breaks that you need, and we'll keep this system rolling along, this cycle of the rich getting richer while the rest of us get fucked, right? Because when they create these new tax policies, when they create incentives for people to take their businesses overseas or to not be able to have to pay the full on of the state tax of the place that they're in or the federal taxes that Amazon apparently hasn't been fucking paying, right? When they do those things, guess what? The CEOs and the shareholders get to put all of that fucking money not back with their workers, because workers haven't received any type of pay, right? Any type of increased pay over the past 30 years. You can look at reports that have been done on the fact that CEOs and shareholders have seen an upwards of a 200% plus increase in the money that they're taking home, when before companies used to put that money back into these things. What were they called? Oh, pensions. Do you know what I'm saying? Or stock options, or things that would incentivize people to stay as employees. But the way that we look at workers in America right now are you're just a bunch of cogs in a wheel. And once you burn out or we find you not to be useful anymore, guess what happens? We send you packing and we get somebody younger and cheaper in your place. That's the American way. So when you see these CEOs now coming out, right, being pressured by civil rights and social justice organizations saying that you need to pull your money, your games, your things out of places like Georgia, they have a right to do so. Because guess what? You are not going to be able to fucking hoodwink us into believing that there is something wrong. There should something be said to be illegal about providing food and water to people that have been standing in line for 11, 12 hours just to vote. You hear Republicans talking about comparing people standing in line for voting as in comparison to standing in line at a baseball game? Are you fucking stupid? Like, I honestly believe that they think so little of the American people. They think so little of us, right? With the actions that they take. Like, we don't know what they're trying to do when you're cutting down voting in places, when you are cutting down early voting, when you're eliminating ballot boxes, when you're eliminating where you can drop off those things in order to make it as inconvenient as possible. And then you want to compare it to some form of entertainment that people have a choice whether or not they want to participate in. Voting isn't entertainment, nor should it be considered a punishment. Right? And that's what this legislation is doing in Georgia. It is punishing Black and brown people for having the audacity to have their voices heard, for having the audacity to show up in historic numbers. That's what they're doing. And they are basing it off of a fucking lie that they came out and said was a lie. Right? Raffensperger and Kemp were the ones that told us 3 times over after they counted the votes in Georgia that what Donald Trump was saying was a lie. But then you're going to create legislation based on that falsity? Get the fuck out of here, right? So they are going to be sued as well. But the problem that we are going to see in this path to court is exactly what Mitch McConnell had foresight on, which is why he held up the judges that Obama was supposed to. The reason why there were 300 vacancies, friends, is because of him obstructing the Obama-Biden administration. And they weren't able to place anybody on the court. And I will say this. To their fucking dismay of wanting to collaborate with fucking terrorists, the Obama-Biden administration did not use the full force of the power that the American people fucking gave them. And instead, we're waiting around for Republicans to come to the fucking table. Let me tell you something. You would have had a good 30 days to fucking hold up Merrick Garland's appointment before I took your ass to the Supreme Court. You would have had a good 30 days. Okay? And that would have been under duress and a whole entire PR campaign that should have been rolled out to the American people. But Democrats don't ever do that, do they? No, they sit around and you give them power and then they want to turn around and be afraid to fucking use it. This is the most reactive party that I've ever seen. But you see, I have no place else to go. I sure as fuck am not going to become a Republican, and I absolutely am not going to be an independent where I can't vote outside of presidential elections. So America's entire system here, folks, is completely and totally fucked, and Mitch McConnell knows that. So when I say, with all real seriousness, that if I ever crossed paths with that man and was within arm's distance, I would take the fucking L and punch him in the face and deal with it in court later. Because he's a piece of shit. You want to talk about somebody that is dangerous. You know, and this was what was said on Woke AF just this week by Kurt Bardella, who is an MSNBC contributor and a USA Today contributor and writer. Kurt said this: there is not one terrorist organization, whether it be ISIS, Al-Qaeda, or whomever the fuck that you want to name, that is more dangerous and a bigger fucking threat to America than the Republican Party. Fucking talk about that, right? We want to continue to pretend as if this party wants to work on behalf of the American people. But let me ask you something. Let me ask you something again. What have Republicans offered up that has made your lives better over the past several decades? What have they done except to either stop completely or slow down progress in this country? We're talking about the fact that every single critical issue that has been a critical issue over our entire lives has reached a fucking peak right now. We're talking about climate change. We're talking about our crumbling infrastructure. We're talking about our crumbling healthcare system underneath a pandemic. We're talking about our education system. Every single fucking one of those is in crisis. How did we get here? You can't just blame COVID-19 for getting us here. No, it is the great revealer of things that have been dysfunctional in this country. And why have they been dysfunctional? Because we don't have a two-party system. That's why. Right? We have a party that might as well be the White Citizens Council. They might as well be the KKK. They might as well be, just change their name from Republicans to the Proud Boys because that's who they represent. They don't offer shit. What they do is tear things down. And when you have people, right, when you have an entire party that is invested in a lie, that is invested in pain and cruelty in the way of an Al-Qaeda or an ISIS, you have no choice but to say that they are a domestic terrorist organization. Because how are they not terrorizing the American public? How do you tell people that you have no rights and no voice in this quote-unquote democracy? Because you look a certain way or you live in a certain zip code. How do you try and steal people's health care from them? How do you tell women that they don't have autonomy over their bodies? How do you tell trans kids that we would rather you kill yourself than provide you with the health care that is necessary for your survival, right? And your emotional well-being, but then we want to tell you that we're a party of family fucking values? Fuck you. I'm tired of the gaslight and I'm tired of the bullshit. Republicans are fucking terrorists. That's who they are, and that is who the fuck they have always been. So while they want to draw your attention to the scary black and brown people, to the scary black and brown groups, look at who they are protecting. Right? Look at who they have been protecting. Look at who they stand up for. I can't say this enough, folks. When you look at the fact, right, that we have a Matt Gaetz, that piece of fucking pedophilia shit, thought it was cute at the beginning of the pandemic right? To walk onto the floor of the House with a gas mask as a way to mock the CDC's recommendations, right? Matt Gaetz thought it was a fucking joke. The pandemic that has killed so many of his constituents and close to 600,000 fucking Americans. This motherfucker is sitting around talking about, oh, you know, he was just generous with ex-girlfriends. No, bitch, you weren't just generous with ex-girlfriends. You were using campaign fucking dollars to pay for sex. That's what you were doing. And let me not demonize sex workers, because if that shit was above board, then women would be protected from pieces of shit creeps like him. Right? So I don't blame sex workers. No. I blame the fucking men who are sleaze fucking balls that want to keep this shit underground, right? So that they can do whatever the fuck they want. Right? That nobody has any list, any name. Nobody can trace them back. But see, the thing is, that motherfucker was using Venmo and Cash App because that's how dumb he is. But do you hear any Republicans calling for Matt Gaetz to step down now that we know that he thinks that 17-year-old girls are women? That he's been driving them cross state lines? Sex trafficker? He's the sole member of Congress on either side that voted against sex trafficking legislation? Who the fuck does that? Who does that? So now it's been brought to our attention vis-a-vis the New York Times that Matt Gaetz, for his allegiance to Donald Trump, ask for a blanket pardon. Ask me what innocent person, what person that isn't wrapped up in some fucking hot illegal shit would need a blanket pardon. Not even a specific one. Because that's how fucking layered the criminal shit is that he's been doing. Sex trafficking, funneling campaign money. Right? Blanket pardon. Oh, get the fuck out of here. And oh, come to find out, and I mentioned this last week, guess who didn't want to be seen with him or taking pictures with him? Oh, Bill Barr. Bill Barr when he was still Attorney General because, right? I don't want to be linked up with somebody that we are currently investigating. I'm telling you, birds of a motherfucking feather flock together. So you have Donald Trump that used to be swinging and clinging with Jeffrey Epstein, right? Major sex trafficker. Ghislaine Maxwell is still, right, waiting on trial after Jeffrey killed himself. Then you have Matt Gaetz, who is hanging out with his buddy Joel, who is now up to 33 different charges, right? Ranging from sex trafficking to racketeering to fraud. These are who the fuck these people are. What did Maya Angelou say? When people show you who they are, believe them the first fucking time. They are a bunch of motherfucking grifters and terrorists, which make them so fucking dangerous. Because they're not only trying to destroy America, our values, our continuity, even if America is the land of hypocrisy. Because let's just be real, it fucking is, right? It's the land, home of the brave and freedom and all this shit. We got motherfucking kids in cages, and we got kids whose life expectancy we can tell by where their zip code is, right? We're talking about land of the free, but a man was killed in front of all of our faces, right? Tortured for 9 minutes and 26 seconds over a counterfeit bill. We're talking about land of the free, but we're crossing our fingers and toes, wondering if actual justice is going to prevail, because we know that when white people are on trial for killing black people, the likelihood of that is null and fucking void. So yes, I'm very aware of the contradictions that America presents on a daily basis. It's fucking exhausting. But at the same time, it's all the fuck we have. Because I'd love to leave, but I don't know where I would go where it wouldn't just be more of the same, but with a different language and a different fucking climate. So might as well fix the shit where you are, or at least die trying, which is apparently what I will probably end up doing. Nonetheless, folks, pay attention to what is happening and connect all of the fucking dots. Because the reality is Republicans are not done. They're not done by a long shot. So any of the commentary that you hear about Republicans are on their last leg, no, they are not. All you need to look at is the local houses and the state houses and see where Republicans remain strong and in power. They may have lost at the federal level for right now, but understand that they are not going anywhere. 75 million people support them, right? 75 million. Our problems are so big, but when you see them just narrowed in through the lives and the privilege and the fucking disgust of these white, rich, entitled, dumb motherfuckers, it makes me want to scream. It makes me want to strangle them, in all honesty. It makes me want to, have a slew of people run for office, because that's the only thing that's going to matter at the end of the day. That's why they are doing their damnedest to restrict voting. They don't want you voting because they know that when you vote, they don't fucking win. And they're not trying to win. That's the thing that gets me each and every time. Republicans don't give enough of a fuck to even try to win your vote. Folks, they didn't offer a platform in 2020. They said, run back what we did in 2016. What? Like you got nothing new to offer the American people? We in the midst of uprising and pandemics, and you don't see any opportunity for us to fix what is broken? You're just like, let's just play the rerun. The fuck? They want to drive us crazy, and clearly today, based on my level of emotion, they are succeeding. But connect the dots. None of this shit is happening in isolation. None of it is happening in its own silo. What is happening with Matt Gaetz, the sexual assault cases against Donald Trump, like, this is who this party is. It is not a few bad apples. The same shit that we say about the police, like, oh, it's just a few bad apples. A few bad apples in each and every fucking police department across the country isn't just an isolated problem, right? It's a systemic one. So as I continue to say, if you are watching the Chauvin trial, do take very good care of your emotional well-being. Try to take breaks, because I tell you that last week I had a breakdown. So right now I'm only watching tidbits. Everything else I read, because I do not have the emotional capacity to take this shit on. No, because at some point I won't want to leave my house. Because why? Right? I'm black, I'm queer, and I'm a child of immigrants. Like, America clearly was not built to embrace me. That's for fucking sure. So, folks, at the end of the day, right, all we have is each other. All we have is the community that we build. All we have is the community that we care for, right? That is it. And so if we are not paying attention, if we are not taking breaks so that we are able to pay attention, right? To register people to vote, to put money, to donate to the ACLUs of the world, to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, to give them the coins if you have the coins to share. Because folks, these battles are not just happening on Capitol Hill. They are happening in the courthouse. And in order for us to win, resources are necessary. That's why Mitch McConnell wants to threaten CEOs, because he doesn't want the fucking Coca-Colas and the Deltas of the world to start funneling money from them, these inept motherfuckers, into folks who are actually doing the work, right? But that's exactly what it is that we need to happen. So pay attention, continue to stay woke as fuck, and when you need a break, take one so that you do not have a breakdown. That is it for me today, folks, on this Woke Wednesday. If you want more of Woke AF, then hit me up on Patreon, patreon.com/wokeaf. It is $5 a month for 5 one-hour shows. each and every week. So do hit me up at patreon.com/wokeaf. Support Black independent voices, support queer voices, support women, support independent platforms. It really does matter. So if you have the resources and the ability to do so, be well, folks. Stay well. Appreciate all of you. And continue to love up on the folks around you. We lost a great one in Midwin Charles. We lost a great representative in Congressman Hastings. We're losing a lot. We're losing a lot. And the grief is real. So take care of yourselves and each other. I appreciate you all so very, very, very much. You have no idea. So stay well. Until next week. Bye.